reality's a haze. There's a space marine named Stan, passing the wartime craze. With Bolter at his side, and armor shining bright, he's got his Inwarp Mag to read by warp light. Oh, Stan's reading Inwarp Mag.
Welcome back to another edition of Inwarp Mag. I am Brooke, joined as always by my co-host Drew.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And today we're going to be talking about our plans going to Adepticon. We have just recently, we set up our plans for traveling there to the new location, Milwaukee, 2025 Adepticon in Milwaukee. But we're going to be talking about our plans there and kind of some goals we want to accomplish beforehand and what we plan on doing at the convention, and maybe some tips for anybody who is new to Adepticon.
So my first tip is to make sure your tires, you take an Abe Lincoln penny, you stick the penny in your tire tread, you can check your tread. And I need to replace my tires probably before we go to Adepticon. That's all I know.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be in charge of our safety. So if you don't change those tires, then I guess it's on you when we crash in Illinois somewhere.
Yeah, so
no, in Gary, Pennsylvania, Gary, Indiana. When we crash in Gary, Indiana, and we get stranded out in the apocalypse out there.
Worst
Indiana.
Place to get stranded. You know, if you're flying, if you're driving, whatever, grab that penny and check the tread. You shouldn't trust the plane that you're flying in, especially if it's Spirit or Frontier.
And ask your partner that you're going to Adepticon with to bring their battery charger, just in case.
Hey, that problem is fixed, so we'll be good this year for that.
Well, let's get into it. What's Adepticon for anybody that doesn't have a clue what it is and they were born yesterday?
Yeah, so I mean, we're making a big fuss out of Adepticon, and if you aren't familiar with Adepticon, you're like, why are these guys even... Oops, let me fix Discord for y'all. Why are you talking about Adepticon? Well, Adepticon is like the biggest wargaming convention in the United States.
I would preface that with hobby miniature gaming convention, because LVO is probably the biggest gaming one. I'm being honest, that just happened.
Yeah, I mean LVO is like the wargaming tournament convention. This is the wargaming and hobby convention. It's probably the largest in the United States. For I don't know how long.
God knows.
God knows how long it's
for
been.
Us.
It's been in Chicago. This is the first year.
Well, I think they've changed locations multiple times. I don't know how long they've been at the Chicago location. We've been going this is going to be our third year, which we love Adepticon. But I don't know the other locations that it's been at. But go ahead and continue. I can look that up while you're doing that.
I mean, the best thing about Adepticon is there's something to do for every type of wargamer, whether you're into a game like Star Wars Legion or X-Wing or MCU, the Marvel's Crisis, or MCP, Marvel Crisis Protocol, or Warhammer 40K, Age of Sigmar, whatever. There is going to be an event for you at Adepticon. It is the wargaming convention. Even if you're not into playing competitively, there's guaranteed to be something for you to do. There's lots of vendors at the event hall. You can go, check out some of the latest hobby gear or some of the newest minis. They usually do maybe they might be selling some newly released things at Adepticon. There's
some obscure miniature war games.
Yeah, there's some cool preview shows usually. There's just
I found the answer, by the way.
All sorts of things. Go ahead.
It was in Lansing, Michigan, so thank God it's not in Michigan.
Well, we wouldn't have to drive as far.
Fair. And then they moved to Schaumburg, where it was last year, and now this is the first year in Milwaukee.
Yeah, so we've only gone to Chicago, and it's been an awesome time. Hopefully, that'll carry over to Milwaukee at the Baird Center, I think is where it's at this year.
Something like that. Baird Center, Baird, I don't know.
Baird.
It's gonna be it's gonna be the big Milwaukee Convention Center. You're talking about you're talking about the vendor hall and all that.
Schaumburg or whatever was outside of Chicago, just for anybody wondering where the Chicago one was. We weren't downtown Chicago or anything.
No, it's super nice to be on the outskirts and You can't even see the city from where we're at, I don't think. I think it's that far away. It's like 20 minutes out of town.
Yeah, it's like northwest
Northwest.
of the airport, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Well,
out there, pretty far.
so anybody that's ever been to maybe Gen Con, because I feel like that's a very popular convention among a lot of like just board gamers and people that are miniature game curious. The vendor hall at Adepticon is not nearly as big as the one at Gen Con. That's a corporate like business. That's a business con. They want to sell you everything. They're going to have the most things to sell there. This is more like there's obviously some things like you have GW and you have the guys Midday and others miniature wargaming companies, and they're all selling their miniatures. And then you got the paint companies, but it's very miniature focused. All the stuff is very miniature focused. So if you are into wargaming, and I hope you are if you're listening to this podcast, this is the convention that you want to go to.
If you're not, you don't have to subscribe. Just letting you know.
Actually, do subscribe and keep coming back because hopefully we're entertaining you.
Yeah, I don't know why you're listening still. But anyways,
Anywho, why are you excited to go to Adepticon 2025?
we've really mixed it up this year, which I think we'll be getting into later in the show, but we're kind of like mixing it up from the previous 2 years, and no past year has been the same experience wise. And I think our experience from the previous 2 years, that carrying over to this year, is just going to make our experience that much better, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think Adepticon is like my favorite convention I've ever been to, and I can't say I've been to that many. I've been to Gen Con and then this, but it's like the Super Bowl for what we do at home when we hobby and we do all that, like game nights and stuff like that. This is the Super Bowl for all of that stuff that we do on the side for our hobby. This is like everybody gets to come together, great environment. At least it was at Schaumburg. Hopefully it is at Milwaukee as well. Really nice people, beautiful minis that you get to see, all the Golden Demon stuff. It's super motivating when you see it. You're like, man, that stuff is like, it's so good looking. You want to make your stuff look even better. It's just a great experience. You get to meet people. When we go to the hobbying area, people are very friendly. We had a guy last year, like if you guys listened to last year's Adepticon podcast, we mentioned the guy who was like sharing drinks with us and he was pouring us like drinks. And you remember that?
Yeah. I was very skeptical of drinking from it. I'm like, I'm gonna be totally sick
Yeah.
tomorrow, but I guess I'll take a drink because it'd be rude
It,
not to.
but I mean, it's just a good time. Like it's very, very nice to come out of our basements where we do most of our hobbying and feel like you're part of a community and kind of feel that energy that everybody has to about their favorite games. Everybody likes their hobby so much, and you definitely feel that at these conventions.
Yeah, it's like hard to describe the feeling you get when you go to Adepticon, as far as the community, and like there's almost like a sense of belonging that you feel when you're there among all the people who love the same thing that you love. Um, Basically, from the moment you go to pick up your badge, like as soon as you get to the convention hall and you're picking up your badge, if you're going to like any of the preview shows on that day, I don't know if there's a preview show, we might find out later. Um, if you're going like to the preview show or whatever, and you're surrounded by, your people, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
You're just like, this is awesome, because
You hear a wah in the distance.
yeah, you're driving for hours and you're like, is it gonna be worth it? I don't think it's gonna be worth it. This is a waste of time. And then you get there, yeah, and you hear that giant wah, and you're just like, hell yeah. Like, this is where I
Yeah.
want to be. Like, I cannot wait to spend the next 4 days here, and I'm not gonna regret having to drive home afterwards.
Yeah.
It,
True.
it's that, just like that experience, that initial experience, the first day experience, just every year it just kind of knocks it out of the park, and it's amazing every year.
Definitely. So we are from Ohio. So our traveling, we talk about our traveling plans pretty quick, but we are going to be heading out on that Wednesday. Um, that morning we're gonna hit the road and try to get out there at a decent time.
ASAP.
As soon as we can, or we might make a stop in Chicago. We really like stopping there and getting some food or just seeing a little bit of the city before we continue. But we're gonna be going Wednesday morning, and then we booked a hotel in downtown Milwaukee this year. We didn't get any hotels that were super close to Adepticon last year when it was in Chicago. The one that we stayed at was pretty close. There was a shuttle to the convention, which is kind of why we stayed at that hotel.
But the hotel was like a mini hell.
It was awful. It was a super negative aspect of the trip. Was a horrible experience. If you go to the Schaumburg hotels, you might see some pictures that I posted of our experience. So they get views constantly, and I'm constantly getting notifications for it still.
Focusing on the positive though, like I've been to Chicago. I've been to Chicago before Brooke had ever gone there, and like I was fond of Chicago from going there before, and from going to Adepticon these past couple of years too. Like we both have grown very fond of Chicago and visiting Chicago. We're a little bummed this year it's not in Chicago, to be honest. Like even though Chicago can be crazy at times, like year 2 when we left downtown Chicago to go to the convention hall, we were stuck in like a crazy traffic jam.
Yeah, it was wild.
Even with that, we just like we loved visiting Chicago. We did like the Sears Tower / Willis Tower last year. We have always had an amazing time at Chicago. So like it's bittersweet going to a new location, but there's also, you know, we're trying to look up things to do in Milwaukee when we get there. So that's exciting. And then just to tell you all, if you're going to try to find us, this isn't where we live in Ohio. This is like the geographical center of Ohio.
Yeah. We don't trust you all that much yet. So we are staying in a hotel that's within walking distance. That was something that was important to us this year. We wanted to be as close as possible, try to eliminate any of the Uber or any of the like the shuttle aspect of that. Something that we can go back to from the convention fairly easily without much hassle. And we don't want to have to be driving around a new city that we don't know. So eliminating that, we're going to be as close as possible. We learned this year, especially this year, because we were really pumped about going to this, and we tried to kind of plan earlier, but it wasn't early enough. So if you're going for the first time, you know, you're too late this year, but next year for 2026, you need to really think about booking your hotel way earlier than
like this year, like 2025.
Yeah, right. Like 3 months ahead of time is not early enough.
So usually Adepticon registration opens up in January, and if you are thinking of booking your hotel in January, just know that
at registration,
yeah, all the people who've been painting for Golden Demon, everybody who, you know, is playing to get into like worlds and stuff for whatever game they're playing in and is planning on competing at Adepticon anyways, all those people have probably already booked rooms ahead of you. So if you do have plans to go to Adepticon, highly recommend you book a hotel at the like group rate as soon as the group rate is available. So you don't miss out on the group rate, and you don't miss out on the location. Because one thing we're a little bummed out about this year is we didn't get a location that has an attached like walkway straight into the Baird Center, which would make our lives a lot easier. But we're still within walking distance, so it could be worse.
It's a compromise.
Yeah, me and Brooke are both in like relatively good shape. We'll be able to hoof it, but
yeah, it won't be too bad.
Yeah.
And I know that I have, for my carry case for when we do bring our minis, I do actually have a backpack set up. So if we do have to walk it, if we do decide to walk, I have the setup that I can walk fairly comfortably with all the stuff I need, which is important. If you're in a situation like this, it's important to think about how you're going to transfer or transport your hobby supplies or your miniatures for gaming. You need to have a plan on how you're going to transport those things.
And if you have shame or anything like that, that's definitely something you got to deal with, where you're like walking around a hotel carrying a carry case full of miniatures, and you're just like, if you feel shame when people look upon that thing, which I do, but I encourage you not to feel that. I don't know why I necessarily feel that.
Take on my mantra, have zero shame. If people look at you and they look confused at your thing, just ignore them. You're never going to see them again because you are going to Adepticon in a different state. You're never going to see them again. Who cares? If they judge you, okay, come find me after this. Like,
Yeah, I don't know why I always feel it, but I'm just like, I'm walking around with like Star Wars miniatures. Are people staring at me?
who cares?
Yeah,
That's how I feel, at least.
but either way, like if you plan ahead of time, you can get a hotel that is attached to the convention center, which we don't this year. And the thought of walking a half a mile carrying my Warhammer miniatures is a little intimidating. Not because of
Yeah,
the walk, but mostly because of carrying the Warhammer miniatures.
yeah.
I don't want to be called like, "Hey, you're an effing loser" or something like that. I'll be like, "No, I'm not. I
I'll be
like it."
like, yeah, all right, okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Enjoy Milwaukee, your
Mm-hmm.
beer and whatever sausages, bratwurst, whatever they're famous for.
I'll just be like, "You're a jerk. Go
I'll be like,
away."
well, enjoy the Bucks
Yeah.
as they implode. Anyways, that's a basketball reference. So what would you recommend for new attendees, first timers, if for whether it's scheduling? I don't know if you have any tips for budgeting, but like scheduling in particular, would you have any recommendations for first time attendees?
I think like you have to go in with a plan as far as what you want to do. Do you want to do actual gaming side of things, or do you want to do more of the hobby side of things, and then kind of like focus on that area? Although it might be good if you leave it open to both, so you can experience both and decide what you like best. Um, because then, maybe if you go year 2, you can kind of focus on one or the other. I think last year we focused more on the wargaming side of things than we did on the hobby side of things. I think
Hmm.
we've enjoyed the hobby side of things a lot more on our trips.
Yeah.
um but you need to have a plan going into it, because when you go there, nobody is going to tell you what to do or anything like that. Like, it's all up to you to you have like you have an awesome location to go to with an extreme amount of potential. It is up to you to create the fun at the point that you get there. So you have to go there with some sort of plan. What are you going to do for fun?
Right.
And then when you do go there, if you've never been to like a convention or anything like that before, I would tell like new convention goers, don't be shy. Like, if it seems like there's this really cool hobby area where everybody's hanging out, and there's this paint rack, and it seems like everybody's using this paint like it's a public paint rack, like, frickin' go try to use it and see if people tell you
Yeah.
not to use it.
Ask questions. Ask some people that are painting there. Just be friendly, and people are very friendly and receptive. And if you go talk to people, they're going to be kind to you because everybody's there for the same reason as you are, right? Everybody
Mm-hmm.
wants to have fun and hobby and enjoy their time, and people are always willing to help new people if they aren't sure what's going on.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because, like, the first year we went, there was an area that was dedicated to that exactly. There's like a dedicated hobby area, and we didn't
Mhm.
know like we could use it because there's a lot of people that are maybe live streaming in that area, or they just look like they're way better painters than you, and you're just like, I don't belong. I'm
I don't
an
know if you were the
imposter.
I don't know if you were the same way. I genuinely thought that they brought all those lights and
Mm-hmm.
set them up themselves, and I was like, I don't belong. I'm gonna go upstairs and sit at a hard chair and on a high top, and we'll paint up there. Like,
Yeah,
I had no idea what was going on.
yeah. We spent our entire first year painting in like the eating area because we were so intimidated. But
But it was cool. It's a
yeah,
sweet area at the old Adepticon. It's not gonna be that at the new one, but maybe there is a cool area for it. But yeah, it was a cool area, and I actually quite enjoyed being in that area. It was like, windows overhead for like what do you call those? Like
natural
skylights or
lighting.
yeah,
Yeah.
natural lightings. And it was nice to be up there. We could go get drinks and then come back and just hobby. It was a good time. So yeah, don't be shy. Go talk
Yeah.
to people if you are confused on what you can or can't do. If you see people hobbying, ask some questions. Um, yeah, don't be shy is probably the biggest tip.
Like our first year, we went specifically to watch a war game like tournament that we wanted to watch. So if there's like a war game you're really into and there's a big tournament happening, it's a perfect time to go and just like be an audience member and watch that. One piece of advice is you don't necessarily need a badge to do that if you're not
Right.
planning on like staying overnight. But if you're gonna stay like late into the night, there are like restrictions that if you don't have a badge, because like during the day they typically open up the floor area to like people who live there that they can come in and shop.
Right.
And you don't need a badge to do that. Typically badges are reserved for people who are doing seminars and tournaments.
Events, yeah, all the event stuff, tournaments. If you stay later than the convention hall, or not the convention hall, the vendor hall, the vendor floor, whatever, when that closes, that's kind of the time that the people who don't have badges are kind of ushered out a little bit. Like that, they're like, oh yeah, we're kind of closing this area, and now it's just people who have badges. And like our first year, because we had our badges, we stayed late until they closed the whole hall. Like when it was super late at night, we stayed late after the tournaments were done to play Star Wars Legion on the tournament tables, which the Asmodee slash AMG staff were super nice and let us play on the tournament terrain, which was super cool. We actually, we went up and asked them, "Hey, can we play on these? And how, like, what's the deal? Where can we play Star Wars Legion?" And they told us exactly what we could do. So again, not being shy, go talk to the tournament organizers about that sort of thing. Don't just set up and start playing on an empty table. Like, go up and ask the tournament organizers or the company that set up all the boards if you are allowed to play on boards and which ones you're allowed to play on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are public boards outside of like the main tournament areas, but yeah, like Brooke said, some of the tournament organizers are really flexible, and they'll say pretty much like as long as you put things back the way you found it and you treat things respectfully, you can play on these boards, which is really
Right.
cool. Where me and Brooke don't necessarily like we haven't necessarily felt prepared enough to compete in a tournament setting, but we still want to like get that tournament feeling of like playing on the tournament boards, which is a really really cool thing to do. So like if you're into the game, you don't quite feel ready to compete in something, there's still something for you to do at an event like Adepticon. I think there's a niche for you to find where you'll have a ton of fun if you attend the event.
Right. The only real tips, I guess, the spiel that I would give to new first time attendees is kind of the common stuff that you hear from a lot of people. Like, you want to pack things that you don't think about. Like, when I've gone to Gen Con with some of my friends, some of our friends in our hobby group, I bring like band-aids and Neosporin and gauze and things. I'm like the team medic. I'm like the medic for the group. I'm there to be like, oh, somebody needs this, I have it. Like I pack in things that I have extra deodorant. I have all these different things that you're not necessarily thinking about. Oh, extra socks. That is a huge one. Like, if not necessarily in this one, Gen Con's like in the hotter time of year, but like if you're walking around all day and your feet get sweaty, you probably want to switch your socks out and not get blisters, which is a very common thing. Like think about those like wellness, health and wellness type of things. Like
Hand
take them like
sanitizer.
pain reliever, stuff like that you might need to take. Tums if you eat somewhere weird and then you come back and you have heartburn. Things
Hand
like that.
sanitizer is a big one. So
Yes.
after you're done walking around the convention hall looking at stuff, you want to be able to squirt some hand sanitizer in your hand and make sure that you're clean.
Yeah. If you go and you talk to somebody and maybe you shake their hand, that's a great time when you're done interacting with that person and you leave and you're going to do whatever you want to do and squirt some hand sanitizer
Offer it to whoever you're talking to.
and squirt it in their mouth. No. So
Your French kiss.
some people might enjoy that too much. The other thing that I would recommend is when you do the scheduling, don't go in too deep. You want to leave big gaps in between the events. Do one, maybe two things in a day if you're a first timer. Maybe one is probably a good goal because you're probably going to be enthralled with something. You're going to be sidetracked by something. You're going to go walk through the vendor hall and you're going to really want to check out a game, maybe buy it, and then you're like, oh, I want to go check it out and build it and read the rules or whatever. But if you do set a schedule, it'll give you something to look forward to, and you're not going to feel lost during the day. You're not going to be like, what? I don't know what I should do. Like, have a plan in place, whether that's an event that you actually buy or like what we've done in the past is we were like, hey, in the evening, this evening, we're going to hobby. So after dinner, we're going to get our hobby stuff and we're going to go to the convention. We're going to find a place to hobby. We're going to root, find a place to root down and just start hobbying for the night and see where that goes. See when we get tired and when we want to leave. Have a plan so that you're not just wandering, and it will feel like you're accomplishing things throughout the convention. It'll make your experience a lot more fulfilling.
And one more thing, if there is a game that you're into, find whatever like tournament tracking app or software they use to track the tournament live and follow it. So
it's super fun.
Yeah, so you can like follow it, you can learn the names of the players, and you can follow it throughout the tournament to see like, oh, this player's doing really good, and you can figure out who's playing, because most of the tournaments will have a live broadcast table where they'll be live streaming it to YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, and you can go follow that table, see who's playing, understand like their win-loss record during the tournament, what lists they're playing, stuff like that. And like if you're really into following the meta, into list building, that sort of thing, it's really interesting to see what people are playing, what they're bringing to the tournament. You can look up the tournament rules package and stuff and see if that's going to play into the meta at all, like it did at LVO a little bit with Death Watch. There's just cool little nuances like that if you're really into the hobby, you're really into the meta and stuff like that, following the tournaments can be super interesting.
Yeah, one of the things that we've done in the last couple of years is we followed the Star Wars Legion tournament because we followed a podcast that there were some people that were from that podcast or people that they mentioned in their podcast that were playing in the tournament, and we followed those people. And then so there was another YouTube channel that had a couple guys that were following them. I think it was Gray. What the heck is their name?
Gray Squadron Gaming.
Yeah, Gray Squadron Gaming, and then the Fifth Trooper. We were following those guys, and it was fun. And then the other part of it too is like if you play a certain faction, like bringing this back to 40K, like I play Space Wolves. I might find a Space Wolves player in the tournament, and I might follow them and see how good they do with maybe a list that I like. I might look in their list if they're publicly available, which I'm sure I think they are. I might follow them and try to see how they're doing, and that can be a lot of fun if you have a favorite faction that you want to see how they perform in the biggest stage. At least that was for Legion. That was the biggest tournament of the year. That would probably be LVO for 40K, but this is also a big tournament, so it's a lot of fun to try to follow that stuff and see how your faction is doing within the tournament.
Yeah, especially if you find like if there's like a detachment or like a specific unit combination that you use within your list that you feel is maybe slightly off meta, you might find somebody that is running that exact combo in a tournament. An example is Star Wars Legion, something that at the time, maybe 2 years ago, I think, that was slightly off meta for Star Wars Legion was running Yoda with Chewbacca.
Oh yeah,
just because it was so many points and a lot of people didn't see much use in Chewbacca.
You really liked that list.
Yeah, I used to run it locally with our hobby group, and I would just surprise everyone who hadn't seen it yet because Chewbacca with Yoda, they could move so far. Like Yoda is sort of like if you're playing a Terminator or something. He's really strong,
Super slow.
but really slow. But as soon as you pair him up with Chewbacca, he can ride on Chewbacca's back and just sprint across the battlefield. And like it's one of Chewbacca's like lesser known, lesser used like command cards that you can use,
Yeah.
which is sort of like a stratagem. It's like a turn-based stratagem if you're not like sure what Legion is. But it basically lets Yoda ride on Chewbacca's back, and Chewbacca moves at normal speed, which is just like really crazy.
Faster.
If you do like a double move or something like that, it just completely takes people unaware when they're like, "Oh, I have Yoda in my face right now." And there were 2 different players who were running Yoda Chewbacca combo at the Star Wars Legion tournament, and I followed those guys around basically the whole tournament. So if you feel like you have an off meta combination that you use in Warhammer, you might find something where somebody is running that exact combo or a detachment that you love, and you might just learn things from watching that player. And you're just like, you might feel like you understand that list and you understand that unit combo, but they might teach you things that you didn't even know either.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. You can learn a lot watching tournament play. We learned a lot watching Star Wars Legion tournament play, and that has kind of translated to 40K to a lesser extent, but it's a lot of fun. Following tournaments is a lot of fun, more fun than you might realize as somebody who maybe focuses on the hobby side. It can just be like, we're sports fans. It's almost like following a sport. It's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been giving everybody advice on scheduling and what they should be looking forward to and whatnot. Well, should we tell the good folks what we're signing up for and what we're preparing for?
Yes. Do you want to go ahead and get it started as I pull up our schedule to share with everybody?
Tell me what's the first thing on the schedule. I don't remember.
Well,
I know exactly what the
thing
first
is
thing
on Wednesday night. And it's maybe the best thing one of the best things.
Silly me. I was thinking about what we signed up for. Well, I guess we did sign up for this one. So maybe the most important thing. So Wednesday, the reason we're traveling so early and trying to get there at a decent time is because that night GW does their preview show, and that is a huge event. It's really awesome. Last year was the first time we had gone to a live preview show, and we are definitely looking forward to it this year. It's so much fun. You're with all these people who are hyped for 40K and or other GW products, and it's a really fun experience to be sitting there when they reveal it live in person with the actual staff, and then you get to hear the crowd like cheering for stuff, and it's very exciting to see if maybe your stuff comes up. I'm a little hopeful that Space Wolves will get something teased at Adepticon. We'll see.
Maybe
who knows?
A new miniature or something.
Maybe some guy coming back. Who knows? So we are really looking forward to that. That's something that we're going to prioritize this year. We were almost late to it last year, and that was when we got our badge and we heard the wah and we like ran to the door to get into the convention or to get into the preview show, and we got in right as it was starting. It was perfect, but it's so much fun. The preview show for 40K, if you have not gone to one, you might be like, oh, I can just watch it online. I encourage you to go to the live event. It's so fun. The energy is awesome. People cheering. It's great. Like it's such a fun shared experience with all these people who really love the game just like you.
Last year when we went, this was like the perfect hype event to get you ready for the rest of Adepticon and being around. It was like the teaser, the taste of being around all the people who are just as passionate about the hobby as you are, and you're just done getting over traveling to the location. If you're already in Milwaukee, God bless you, but if you're not, we've all traveled to get there, and you're tired and you're like, why the heck did I do this to myself? I got my badge. What am I doing? You're like, oh yeah, I got the Warhammer preview show. And you take your seat sitting on the side, and the little British guy comes up and announces they're doing the Warhammer preview show, and just everybody erupts because they're,
Mm-hmm.
we've all been waiting. We're like, we're excited for this. We've taken off 2 days of work. We're all traveling home at the end of the weekend. Like, we're freaking excited for this thing. And just like the energy that you feel at the Warhammer preview is the perfect way to start Adepticon.
Yeah, it is definitely the hype show, like the hype up show for the rest of Adepticon. So fun, so much fun. Definitely go check that out if you are not. There might be still some spots to sign up for it. It's a huge event. They probably do, but yeah, if you are first time and you haven't signed up for that, and 40K is something that you enjoy, totally go to that. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's like, no matter what they're introducing in the preview show, if it's Warhammer, if it's Kill Team, if it's Age of Sigmar, if it's
Necromunda.
Necromunda,
Yeah.
like it's thrilling, it's exciting, it's funny, it's a good time.
What's that other game? That like minor game? It's like had a 4th edition or something. I don't know. It's called like Age of Wigmar. Who knows?
Age of Wigmar. Anyways, everybody's hyped, and everybody knows the games that aren't super hyped anymore. And you might, like, when Necromunda came up last year, they're like, Necromunda, and like nobody cheered. And then
Two people
one
clapped.
guy was like, woo. It was hilarious. But like,
it was so funny.
It's one of those events where you're just like, you're sitting there and you're like, I'm with my people. Like, this is where this is where I should be right now. Like, I'm where I'm meant to be, and I made the right decision. It's the perfect thing to kick off your Adepticon event. And you can watch it online, like Brooke said, but it doesn't compare to sitting in a humongous event hall, the Baird Ballroom ABC.
Is that what it is?
That's what it says. That's what I'm showing.
Ooh.
And you're surrounded by 1,000 other Warhammer enthusiasts, or GW enthusiasts, I'll say.
And out of those 1,000 people, 10 of them are Space Wolves fans.
Hey, I bet there's more space. Everybody seems to like Space Wolves. They like
no, they don't. We're
Viking,
hated.
The
I've
Viking
embraced
Space
it.
Marines.
Hey, the people might be pretty hyped if they tease some things at Adepticon. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. There's always a big like preview at Adepticon too, because Adepticon is one of the bigger wargaming events. So there might be like last year there was Age of Sigmar 4th edition release, and they had like a really cool animated cinematography thing that they produced for it. That was really cool. I don't know what they'll have this year, but whatever it is, I'm excited for it. Even if it's not related to Warhammer 40K, I'm excited for it because it was so much fun last year.
So we're going to the preview show, and we kind of made a commitment this year that we would go to some more events, and in particular, we wanted to do some more hobby events. We both, I think, speaking for both of us, have felt like some of our hobby skills have plateaued, and we're kind of using the same things to complete our models, and we want to try to elevate our skill set. We want to try to expand our skill set, I guess is maybe a better term for it.
Yeah.
And we want to try to take a few hobby classes. So I think that's the first one up, right? One of the hobby classes?
Yeah, so on Thursday, the first hobby class we're going to do, which is in the morning, so it's going to be, me and Brooke are going to have to wake up early, but from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, if you're in our class with us, shout out, hey, what's up? We're going to be in the AMG.
We'll tap you up.
Yeah, we're in the AMG Presents Lava and Ice Basing with Brendan Roy. Our thinking behind this is I feel like the ice basing would definitely benefit Brooke for his Space Wolves army. Maybe I'll explore lava basing for orcs. I don't know if orcs are really fond of lava. I don't think they are, but I guess they could think it's fun.
I think it'll be a fun way to expand our basing skills because
Yeah, I
in
think if you
in
can like learn how to do lava basing and ice basing and just kind of like expand upon the techniques that you learn to do those two different types, that you'll be less shy about exploring other types of basing.
right.
Like Brooke said, like this is definitely an area that I feel like I've reached the ultimate plateau of, where I just like I have a very simple basing technique that I always go back to, and it's good enough to like impress anyone who isn't in wargaming, and they're like, wow, that looks really cool, and you're like,
Mhm.
thanks, dad. um but anybody who's in the hobby, they're like, that's it, that's all you did? Because like some people take the basing and they go like above and beyond. I do the basing to just like get it done. So I really want to learn new basing techniques where I can be like comfortable, as far as being like, all right, this is a little lackluster. Let's take it to the next level.
Yeah. For my Space Wolves, I have a basing recipe that I've been using that I took from some inspiration from online, and I've kind of worked it for my own use of it. And I'm really happy with my basing the way I do it right now. It's a little bit more complicated, but I've gotten used to it. At first I was avoiding doing it because it was more complicated, and I had already started basing some that way. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to have to base everything like that. But I've gotten used to it. It's not as bad as I think I made it out to be initially. But I would like to expand into ice style bases. I do snow bases like a tundra style. Uh, I don't know, like muddy ground with
Mm-hmm.
grass tufts and snow. But with ice basing, I think that would be pretty cool. I could definitely use that on maybe some of my bigger models as like maybe a centerpiece model. I think that'd be pretty cool to explore. So yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those lesser explored areas of the hobby. I think some people don't even base stuff; they'll just like paint it a solid color and leave it at
Yeah.
that. Or they'll do something like I do, where it's just like you might glue, you might put glue down on your base, and then just put like a
Dip it
pre-made,
into a bin.
yeah, dip it into something that has like rocks and like fake grass on it, and you're like, that's it. Or use like Vallejo earth, which is another technique I use, which it really takes no skill at all. So there's it, it if that's all you know, like that's fine. But
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with basing stuff that way. It's just kind of like me and Brooke have said. We feel like we've plateaued and we want to expand into like the next realm of basing and take it one step further, and just like have that more wow factor when somebody looks at your model. And if you don't understand what we mean by that, like check out Golden Demon stuff, which you can check out on
Yeah.
GW's website after these big events, and just look at some of the bases that people create for that, because it really is like you can paint the model, but the base and the composition of the base with the model is just something that is art almost, which is
It's
it's really amazing.
it is just as, if not more important than the actual painting.
Hmm. And that's kind of like where me and Brooke want to explore further, is we very much plateaued our skills, and it's like let's learn some new techniques and incorporate these into our hobby.
Right. So
So
what's the next thing that we got?
the next thing we have is the same day. So we've kind of front loaded our convention with hobby seminars on,
Intentionally.
yeah, on Thursday. We have in the afternoon from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm probably going to be dying for dinner at the end of the
Yeah.
seminar. We are doing an
Lunch.
introduction into non-metallic metals.
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
with a guy named Tim Marsh. We looked at some of just a quick tip: if you are signing up for the classes, it will tell you who the instructor is. You can search these people on Google, find their Instagrams and stuff, look at some of the stuff they've painted, and be, a little more informed when you sign up for a class, to be like, is this somebody I want to teach me how to do non-metallic metals with, or should I sign up for another class?
Yeah, most of these people are going to be well advanced and probably outside of a majority of us, our skill set, because they do this for a living. But we did compare a few, and this guy's work is incredible. His NMM, easy for me to say, is awesome. And if we could glean a little bit from what he knows on that, if we can learn a little bit on that, that would be awesome. I know that there's a lot of swords, power swords, all those types of things in Space Wolves that I could be utilizing that skill set for.
Mm-hmm. Every time I hear a YouTube painter like Ninjan or anyone else talk about
Mm-hmm.
NMM, my brain shuts down and I like want
I
to
panic.
curl into the fetal position in the corner of my room and just cry because I'm like, I don't know how to do NMM, and I'm just at this point I'm kind of at the position where I want to do exactly this course. I want to do a 101 on NMM, and I want to start incorporating it into my hobby because I always go back to the slap chop and then I just paint like
A silver.
I paint a silver, like a contrast silver over a slap chopped surface. So it looks
Right.
like it's right, but is it? I don't know. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping Tim Marsh can teach me.
Yeah. Here's hoping that he teaches us how to do this at a decent level. It'd be really cool. I took a class at Gen Con a couple years ago, and it was about wet blending, and it was an intro to wet blending, and just that one class alone got me comfortable enough to then start using wet blending. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. This is easy. It was like a total mystical talent that I had no idea how to tap into. And then this
Mm-hmm.
guy was like, "Oh yeah, just do this." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I can do that." Like that. He like explained some of the principles of it or whatever. And once I got done with it, I was like, I want to do this in everything now. Like I think this is incredible, So
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's that same experience. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's fun to challenge yourself with taking a class that puts you outside of your comfort zone like this, to learn something that you are not very familiar with or you're not very experienced with, like we are with NMM.
Yeah, it really does exactly what you said. Hopefully, it's going to demystify that sort of subject for us in the hobby. And then, like, with what I'm really hoping for with the basing one is the fact that we're doing two different types of bases, and you can see, like, the
Hmm.
different types of, I don't know, materials or whatever we're using to do the bases. And we can kind of like, you can kind of translate that to like other stuff as you're walking around the hobby convention area, like, and shopping for stuff. You can be like, oh, I want that. Like, this looks like the thing I used in doing the
Right.
lava base, and I think it'll look really good for desert. Um, I'm just hoping they'll teach you some things that'll translate to, since you're doing multiple base types, that you can translate that to other stuff too.
Right. Like you could take the icy base and maybe use similar techniques to do like an arid desert base where it's, I imagine ice would be like cracked, and then you could do like cracked earth and maybe try to figure out how to do a more advanced style cracked earth base, which, you
Mm-hmm.
know, is translatable to a ton of different armies instead of just space wolves and whatever lava, whatever lava base would be good for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I want to point out, if you can tell from what I'm sharing on the screen right now, these classes do cost money. You're paying for like the paints and the materials that you're going to use to do the painting. Usually they have like a mini for you to use to practice the techniques and stuff. So that's what your money is going towards. You're also going to be paying the instructor, I suppose, for teaching you the class. So
Yes.
it it's not, for me and Brooke, it doesn't feel like money wasted. We're just like, we're genuinely interested in learning these things. So it's exciting. And like Brooke said before, we're doing these classes on Thursday, and that's intentional. We're front loading our convention with hobby classes because while we are there, we after we've learned these techniques, we really want to incorporate them and start using them immediately to start applying them basically.
Right. So what? I think that's the end of our events for the for Thursday, right?
Yeah. We have one more event, which, Warhammer people be like, what is this? But on March 28th, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., we are going to do a Blood and Plunder Learn to Play demo.
Yeah.
This is like carryover from last convention. Me and Brooke bought. We were. Let me scroll up so this is on the page a little bit better. We were walking around our other at the other convention location when it was in Chicago. There were kind of like two locations because there was like the main area, and then there was the area for the other games. And there were a few sellers over there, and it was it
Yeah,
the
it was
second to last day of the convention?
second to last day. It was that night. We were at our hotel, which also had a section that was part of the convention, which was like the historics, and I think there was also the Lord of the Rings game was in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like it was kind of sectored off of the main convention and stuff that couldn't fit at the other convention hall, and they had a few sellers there, and we
Yeah.
found this.
Yep. We went to one of the historic booths, and I think they were selling it for 66% off or something like that. It was like crazy
It was
cheap.
crazy cheap, yeah.
And it was like
They were like
$90, I think, for the whole box, which the whole box, the starter set, comes with enough to do two factions. There's enough for Blood and Plunder is I think it's like a late 17th, early 18th century
right
um kind of like,
pirates.
yeah, like ship wargaming type thing.
Hmm.
So you have like a little ship to build. I think we got like little two-mast schooner type ships to build.
Hmm.
We have miniatures, which are kind of like the crew of the ship that you can use to like man the cannons. Could you have cannons that you also get to build and paint and stuff? And you have the people to man the cannons, and you can also like board the other ship. Me and Brooke still don't know how to play the game. We've been
Yeah.
procrastinating big time on actually building our ships and painting everything because we're so into Warhammer this past year. But our thought is if we learn how to play the game and we see how it works, it might excite us to actually get going on those minis that are sitting in our current pile of shame.
Yeah. And tip to all you first timers, try other games. Like go and experience something, whether it's a demo or something like this. That's an event where you do a learn to play. I've done at Gen Con, I did a learn to play of BattleTech, I think it's called Alpha Strike, which is the like less complex version of BattleTech, which is probably the only one that I would ever want to play, to be honest. There's so many rules. Um we have a running joke, me and Bill, friend of the podcast, we have a running joke about BattleTech, the original, that when we went up to that booth at Gen Con, the guy was like, do you want to play a game where you can jump out of a plane in the stratosphere and you fall into an active volcano and the humidity level is this and you're at this sea level and it was like all this crazy stuff. Oh, it's raining and your guy has one eye and it's like, oh my God. Like,
You're like,
I don't care.
you're
Like,
like, yeah, sure.
it's like, what? It's like, at what part do I get to shoot his mini? Like, that's all. Like, I just want to shoot him with my mech. It's like I don't care about this all just BS. Anyway, we did a learn to play of the Alpha Strike game, and it was a lot of fun. And I actually did end up buying a couple like starter sets and I bought the book and I bought the minis that we played with during the trial game. I actually bought those minis. It was a lot of fun. Have I played that game since then? No, but it's something that I would like to maybe pick up someday and give it a try. I think it's fun to have other games you can tap into, and if you find something that interests you at Adepticon, which there is going to be a ton of small games that you can go check out at Adepticon in the vendor hall, maybe give it a try. There's some really awesome deals like what we found with Blood and Plunder. I think part of it was like the last day, and I think they were literally just trying to get rid of it because it's a huge box, and they're like, we don't want to have to pack
carry
this
this
up
home.
and take it home.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they're from the UK too, so they're like, "F this, and we aren't transporting this back home."
Yeah. I remember when we bought it, it was kind of funny. We went up to them and we're like debating it, and we're like, we saw the price and it was so like cut in half, or maybe even like 66% off, or whatever the heck it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, man, that's a really good deal or whatever. And I remember the people that were running the booth were like, yeah, it's $2 cheaper than it is in the actual convention hall by the actual seller. So this is the cheapest. We're like, oh hell yeah, we're gonna we're gonna buy this one. So
They knew.
it was pretty funny.
They're like, "We're
But
getting rid
yeah,
of this. We're getting rid of this crap before we travel back home."
so
Yeah, I just want to say before you continue, like exactly what Brooke said. Experience new games. You might discover a new game that you incorporate into your hobby, or maybe it takes over your hobby world. Because 2 years ago, when we first went, we were into Star Wars Legion, and I probably wouldn't have been dabbling my toes back into like the Warhammer waters if we hadn't gone to a Adepticon and walked around and I had seen like all of the Warhammer tables and the amazing like Warhammer like setups that people had. I don't know what they're called, but like the little like
dioramas.
dioramas that people had just to like put their armies on that they had all over the place. And I was like, wow, like
Yeah, the
I
travel cases are dioramas.
yeah, I didn't understand exactly how the hobby was done, because it was like you saw the Star Wars Legion hobby and then you saw how people did Warhammer and you're just like, wow, people are really into Warhammer. It was like really cool to see the passion that was in the game. And I just kept thinking about like my orcs, because I had always loved painting the orcs when I did Kill Team, and I don't know if I've had quite the same experience painting any other minis. And just, you know, over a year ago, I just had this like nagging feeling where I was like, I really want to get back into painting orcs, and I wouldn't have had it if I hadn't explored another game. So you might
Yeah, you
find something that just ignites a new passion in you.
Yeah, you kind of pushed us all into getting into 40K. I would give you credit for that. I had a bunch of 40K stuff, but I bounced off of we kind of both bounced off of Kill Team initially. Kill Team 2, the second, the 2021 edition, we kind of bounced off that. It was fun, but it was very punishing, and there was some super bad balance issues when we were playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we kind of bounced off of that, then I picked up playing Kill Team with Bill and Bear, friends of the podcast. And we kind of started dabbling in 40K stuff, and I kind of got back into like learning about the lore and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I have all the Space Wolf stuff in my basement, and I bought it a while ago just on a whim. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this and that, and maybe I'll play 9th edition, but I never did. And when 10th edition came out, and it was out for a little while, and you started pushing us to maybe try it, that was really what lit a fire under my butt to start getting stuff done.
Yeah, I
And
think I contacted Brooke and I'm like, yeah, I've bought like $300 worth of orc stuff that I'm gonna
yeah,
start painting.
I was like, whoa, what? It took me out of it surprised me. It was crazy.
Mm.
So yeah, it's crazy how going to a convention like this can totally change your hobby, from what game you enjoy or what aspect of the hobby you enjoy. It expands your horizons, type of thing. It definitely shows you some other stuff that's out there, and maybe the thing that you enjoyed that got you into the hobby to begin with, Star Wars Legion for us, then it shifts into something else, and you don't have to rely on just that one game that you really like as the sole source of like your hobby fulfillment. Like now we have multiple games that we enjoy, and
Mhm.
it's cool. It's a lot of fun.
And that's totally okay too. Like if you're into Warhammer, you've been into Warhammer, you're listening to this and you're like, I really hate 10th edition, and like I'm so sorry for you if you do hate 10th edition, because this is our introduction to the game and we love it. And if
Yeah.
you hate it, maybe it's time to find another game, and this would be the perfect avenue to find it. Is just like go to a convention and try out a bunch of demos and you might
Mm-hmm.
find something new that ignites that passion that you had when you first started playing Warhammer or whatever game you're into, and it's kind of getting stale or whatever. You might find something new. This isn't an announcement that this is going to become like Plunder Mag or something like that, but you might,
C-Mag.
yeah, you might find something new that fits exactly what you were looking for. You know, what was in your old hobby that has gone away in a new edition. You might find that in another game, and you know, go play that game for a little while. You might
Yeah.
reignite your passion for the hobby, because to me and Brooke, I think that's the most important part, is because like the hobbying is the most fun part in my opinion, and I think in Brooke's
Mhm.
opinion, painting and getting stuff ready. And if you don't enjoy the game that you're playing and you're doing all this hobbying for it, then it's just like it feels like work. It doesn't feel like fun.
Yes.
And that's when you need to maybe like step back a little bit and be like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting myself through this? It's kind of like if you have a job that you hate and you're just working it, you got to like reevaluate your life and be like, do I want to keep going through this job? And you're like, yeah, it pays pretty good money, and
Wow. Too real.
yeah, too real. It pays good money, and it's gonna get me through the house payment and all that stuff. But
Yeah. You want to continue the hobby for the right reasons, and if you are trying to enjoy the hobby but you're really not, it's a slog, expand your horizons. There's probably another game out there that you might be more excited to work on from the hobby aspect or play from the game aspect. If you're not, like Drew said, if you're not into 10th edition, there's probably a game out there that you would enjoy and maybe come back to it when 11th edition comes out. Like you can bounce between games like that. That's perfectly fine. You're not betraying your old hobby stuff. Those things will be there when you come back to them.
mhm.
So don't be afraid to expand your horizons on that.
Yeah, and if like you told your friends like, hey, I want to try Blood and Plunder. If you got a good friend group, a good hobby group, they're probably going to be like excited. They're like, hell yeah, like how much is it? Like I want to get into it too, and I want to do the pirate faction, or whatever the
I want
heck
to be
your
the
friend group is
Spanish.
into. Yeah,
Yeah.
I identify with Spaniards, and I want to be a Spanish
Some
guy, like
reason.
Puss in Boots or something.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which is like, okay, cool. Like I've ignited this new passion in my hobby group, and we're gonna do something new. Because
Or
sometimes
imagine.
things get
Oh, go ahead.
stale.
Go.
Sometimes things get stale, and it just needs to be mixed up a little bit to uh, just reignite fun.
Or imagine, this is totally hypothetical. Imagine you have a friend group that you play Kill Team with all the time, and you want to expand from Kill Team a little bit, maybe, and work on some things that you have hobbied, or maybe you read the rules, played a game, you did a demo, and you're like, "Oh, this game is actually kind of rad." And then you go to your team, your friend group, and you go, "Hey, maybe we should try this fun game that I found at Adepticon called 40K." And then they do, and you start a podcast because of it. That's just a
Hmm.
hypothetical that may or may not have happened.
It's not too real or anything like that.
Yeah. We didn't start this podcast because we really just fell in love with 40K literally around Adepticon last year.
I think everyone in our hobby group, minus anyone who's lost the latest 1v1 game, would be very happy that we've moved into Warhammer 40K.
Fair. Yes, that's a fair statement. Yeah.
Losing a 1v1 game is brutal. It's demoralizing, and it's very
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah. But I think, only good things have come out of it for our group. Obviously, I'm talking about things that happen in our group if you couldn't catch on to that. But it's
Yeah.
obviously been a positive for us. I'm not saying that we're never going to go back to Kill Team. Like, I actually do want to try Kill Team at some point. But none of us have been like, hey, let's like play Kill Team instead. Like, we've always been like, I want to play 40K. I want to play, like, I want a hobby for 40K. I want to work on this thing for 40K, which is it's cool. It's a lot of fun that we now have this growing hobby side of things for this new game that we like, and they all stemmed from us taking a plunge into something new and expanding from Star Wars Legion.
Mm-hmm. To
Anywho,
to like quickly wrap up the next section. Well, I guess we might need to dabble into this longer than I was thinking. So let's just get into the next section because it's going to take maybe a little while, but we need to like maybe get through it pretty quickly.
Yeah, we can
So
touch on it.
hobby and shopping plans. So like, what are your painting goals before Adepticon? Let's touch on this quickly first.
Yes. So for me, I just tried the Champions of Fenris detachment, and I was incredibly disappointed. Not gonna lie, but I'm not giving up on it. So one of the things I'm working on is I want to get a 10 block of Wolfguard Terminators. So I'm working on them. I've done some 3D printing to try to give them the right weapons and the loadouts that I want to give them, which has been a bit of a hobby in and of itself. So I want to get those done. I want to work on a unit of Blood Claws so that I can have Blood Claws ready. And then uh I want to bring to the con. I'm going to bring Ragnar and Murderfang. And I think there was another 10 that I was planning on working on. I'll think about it while you're talking about yours. What are you trying to get done before Adepticon?
I have a lot too. Sounds like you have what, like 30 models that you want to get done?
Yeah, there's the 10 brick of Wolfguard Terminators. There's 10 to 15. Actually, it'll be 20. I think I'm going to try to get 20 Blood Claws done. That's where the extra 10 comes from. So I'm going to try to get 20 Blood Claws done of the old sculpts. It'd be funny if they were like, hey, new Blood Claws at the Defcon teaser. That would make me cry a little bit. But yeah, I want to try to get 20 Blood Claws done.
You'll have vintage Blood Claws in your army. That's nothing to frown upon.
Yeah, I mean, I think they look cool. They're not great models, but they look cool when they're done. They are horrible to work with.
Yeah, just think of orcs. Like, we want the old sculpts of boys, not the new sculpts, is what everybody wants. Anyways, for me, I am really wanting to run Tactical Brigade because it should not be nerfed before we go to Adepticon. I have a feeling some of the units are going to get nerfed. I'm not going to be running Tactical Brigade with the new Kill Team stuff, so no like Breaker Boys or anything like that. But I do plan on getting my commandos done, which have been sitting in my pile of shame for a really long time. I have started painting them, so that's 12 models, I believe. There's the 10 models plus the 2 tokens that you need, or you don't really need them, I guess, but there's the 2 tokens to paint, and I want to get some more knobs done. There's some knobs that you bought me for a birthday present that are sitting right next to me right now. I just need to get those done. So that's about 17 models. I want to get more flash gets done because there's that cool little combination you can do with flash gets now. I don't know if I'm going to do that combination or not. So that brings me up to what, 22 models I need to paint.
Dang.
And I have some more Storm Boys I want to paint as well. I don't know if I'm going to I don't know if they fit in my list based off of what we're planning on doing. I think we're planning on doing like 1,500 point games for 1v1.
Yeah, we'll talk about in a future episode, I think, about point totals that we play and why. But I think we're probably going to stick to a 1,500 point limit for the games that we play. We like that limit a lot.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I might need to do more Storm Boys. I might not do more. We'll see. I've seen some really cool tactical brigade lists that have gotten me. They're not anything broken or anything like that. They're just like, I just really like the sounds of them.
They're exciting.
They're exciting because I go like, that is off meta and they're not good, but I feel like you could make them good. And that's exciting. That's always exciting to me. There's like one list that a guy ran and it was just kind of like, he called it the trash list because everything was sort of trash. And he's just like, but it works. It works really well. I have the big mech with shock attack gun that I think I talked about last stream. I'm going to get him painted because he'll slot nicely into Tactical Brigade. I have one more thing I want to get painted too. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. He'll slot in nicely. I'm gonna leave him as a surprise to you, Brooke.
Oh, okay. All
Um,
right. We
cause,
got secrets.
yeah, I think I'm gonna leave this one a secret, just because
That's
it's
fine.
like
That's fine.
it's kind of off meta, but I don't know. A lot of people are starting to talk about it now. Is like this is a really good combo. I'll like me and Brooke are very open when we play a game. Like before we even play the game, we explain the combos to each other. And there's always
Mhm.
like I love to like go to that point in time when we're about to play the game and like explain the combo to you and just be like, "Oh, that's really cool. That's good." And that's going to be annoying. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's more exciting to present it at that time. So I think I have like around like 23 to 28 models that I want to get done. It's probably going to be like 23. Um, some of those models I might take to Adepticon with me to paint while we're there. Maybe use some of the new techniques that we learned to do some like non-metallic metals and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot to get done.
Yeah, I think my total, as I was counting in my head, is like 34.
Oh,
I got the ten Wolfguard Terminators, 20 Blood Claws. I have 3 Wolfguard battle or pack leader in Terminator armor. I have 3 of those. And then I have Murderfang.
that's a lot.
And I want to bring, if I don't get Murderfang done, that's fine. He might be something I bring to paint there. The thing that I was thinking about, I was thinking about this today actually. It's a very new thought in my head. Um, I want to bring single models to paint when we do our hobby time at Adepticon because I will have a lot more fun trying to
Focus on
paint.
one.
Yeah, like paint Ragnar or paint Murderfang or paint a Wolfendread or something like that that I can
Mm-hmm.
work on very focused for the convention. I'll have a lot more fun doing that than I would trying to batch paint like 20 blood claws like I'm going to have to
Okay,
do leading up to it, you know.
that's a good idea. The surprise model that I'll be painting, maybe I'll save that for Adepticon then.
Yeah, because I remember last year I brought the Thunderwolf Cavalry and I kind of was batch painting a unit of 6 of them and I kind of hated it. It was fun to hobby obviously, but I wasn't, it wasn't as engaging as I was hoping it would be at the hobby table. And I think that if I took like I just painted the Librarian and Terminator armor and I just focused on that one model and I painted that over the like 3 hobby sessions
Mm-hmm.
and those hobby sessions weren't that long. It was probably like 6 hours or something like that.
It's pretty long.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, it is, but a lot of that was also with the guys and like joking around and not like super focused on everything, letting stuff dry and all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I had a blast doing that. It was a ton of fun. Just focusing on one model, and I think that's probably what I want to do at Adepticon. Just focus on a model like Ragnar or Murderfang, and like you said, we can use some of those techniques that we learn on maybe a model like that. And you know, Murderfang has really cool claws, and maybe there's an NMM technique that I could use for it. So that could be a cool reason to keep him for Adepticon.
Yeah, definitely. Those are the models that you really want to make stand out. So if we do learn anything new that we can use there, that would be perfect. I guess we should preface this with saying that like we are doing like a lot of hobby and stuff. We are planning on playing um some 1v1 games of Warhammer while we're there, just on like the open tables. We're not doing like any Warhammer tournaments as we already talked about like with what our schedule is for Adepticon.
Hmm. At least one game.
Yeah, one
Less
or
than
two.
3.
Yeah, probably less than 3 or we're going to be exhausted, I think.
Yeah. I bet we play I bet we play 2. We might get a third. That would be cool. I think that would be cool. Maybe 2 nights we play a game. I think that would be a lot of fun. We will be
Yeah.
very tired though.
I think either way we play a half a game and then a half a
Mhm.
game is probably what it'll
It
turn
might
into then.
Yeah, the games might end by like turn 3 and then we're like, "All right, let's wrap up and like let's go and get some sleep."
Yeah. And then just kind of like we kind of have planned with what we currently own that we're planning on painting. Is there anything that you're looking to buy while we're there at the vendor hall, maybe to hobby while we're there?
Um, I don't know yet. I would say probably not. The only thing I will say that if it's there that I probably would buy are some of the rarer Space Wolves models. Like we were looking at that uh, Arjack Storm, whatever. I can't remember his weird name. There's like some Terminator characters
Mm-hmm.
in Space Wolves that I think if they're there, they would be cool. Or I do have plans that I could kit bash the one character because I have an extra Terminator in
Jaw or
library.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And if I could do one of those guys as like a kit bash, or maybe I buy them at the convention, or maybe I buy some bits for Space Wolves. Like I did that last year. I bought the
Mm-hmm.
wolf helmets for my jump pack intercessors, assault intercessors. So I think some stuff like that I'll probably pick up. I don't know if I'll be buying any big boxes of any kind. I don't want to have to carry a bunch of stuff home, and I don't want to have to like pack a bunch of boxes. I think some smaller stuff would be on the menu for what I buy though. What about you?
Um, I could fall into like the rule of cool thing if I see something that piques my interest that I've been thinking of buying for a while, like some of the Speedwa stuff that is really off meta and nobody's using, but I really like. It might be a time I pick something like that up because I bought the um God, what the heck is it called right now? I'm blanking. The trike.
Oh yeah, the war trike.
Yeah, I bought that last year. Still sitting in my pile of shame. I mean, it's primed and like mostly built, but I might buy something like that, like the shock jump dragster or something like that. Sounds cool to me.
That
Or
would be cool.
the what is it called? The Rucka Truck Squig buggy. That
Hmm.
sounds cool to me. Um, Another thing I might purchase, this is probably like a high likelihood of maybe purchasing, is if they have a single box of the new Breaka Boys. That's
Oh yeah.
something that I would definitely end up purchasing. Although, if there's like a good deal on like the combo that comes with the Breaka Boys and the whatever the Astra Militarum team is that comes with it, I might be like texting Bill in the middle of the conference and be like, "So, you want to split this like we were talking about a while back?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll deliver it."
Yeah, the one thing I actually I forgot about this. Depending on when the release is, I have no idea when the release is. I might be buying Emperor's Children.
Oh, yeah. That would be
I
cool.
probably won't get the big box, but if like Fulgrim is available, I'll probably buy him. I
I
know that's
guess
heretical. That's heretical for me to say as a Space Wolves loyalist player. But I read the Fulgrim book and I really enjoyed it, and it makes me want to play them. So, and their models look kind of sick. They were revealed very recently. But
I didn't know if it was heretical to like Fulgrim or like the new Fulgrim sculpt.
uh, both. No, the old Fulgrim sculpt from like a 30K set is really cool. I think it's probably like, in my opinion, like slightly better. I think it just is really freaking epic looking, but it's so unwieldy. It's so freaking big. So I think the new one is a lot more reasonable, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also kind of sick looking. So I'm pretty excited about that release. So if there is something around Emperor's Children, and I can get something like Fulgrim, or maybe I get Lucius or whatever his name is. Those might be some boxes that I pick up. Those could be cool additions to what I will probably pre-order is the big box release. But it would be cool to get like a single box like that.
If anyone wants more Adepticon tips, don't buy something like Fulgrim and paint them at the convention.
No,
Unless you want a
you'll
ton
hate
of attention, because people stop over by you while you're painting it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what are you painting? Oh my gosh, is that Fulgrim? That's so cool. And you'll just be like, yeah, I'm painting Fulgrim. And you'll just
Are
like,
you an Emperor's Children fan too? Oh my god, me too. I've been waiting all my life for this.
that's
And I'm
fine.
like,
That's fine.
yeah.
But you're just going to start sweating bullets as you're like, God, everybody's watching me paint Fulgrim
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, true.
But
Yeah.
that
I'm
would
excited for that release.
that would be cool. I'll caution you against adding to your pile of shame because I know you
I
have a
know.
large one.
I'm going to though. I know I am. I've kind of dedicated a chunk of money towards picking this up. So I'm like,
Well, even if
I'm
you just
excited for it.
bought Fulgrim to put on display, like that's
Yeah.
something I can get behind because you got a display case that you could put Fulgrim in and just like enjoy
That
him
might be
that
real.
way.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
that might be a real use for him, even if I don't play them. And if I just worked on him and got him ready and put him on my shelf, that would be sick.
Mm-hmm. So I think before we get to like our closing thoughts, let's just like move on to this last section before we close
Yeah.
out the podcast. But do we have any plans for like community meetups while we're at Adepticon?
Short answer, yes. If there are people who want to meet us, if you guys are traveling, if people that are listening, if you've made it this far into the episode, and you do want to potentially meet up and talk, if you want to get a drink, talk 40K, talk Space Wolves, talk Orcs, pick our brains on whatever you want. We're not experts by any means, but if you want to talk to us about stuff, if you want to share some hobby progress or talk about the game, we'd love to do that. We would love to meet up with you guys and just meet people in our community. We think that it would be a lot of fun to actually see some of you face to face, and we actually plan on we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. We kind of would like to post on the community site on our YouTube channel while we're at the event and kind of update maybe once a day on what's been going on, what we are experiencing, and hopefully we can coordinate a meetup if you guys really want to.
Mm-hmm. Share some progress pictures in our community tab on YouTube. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe share some pictures from our classes so you guys can see like, oh, they were talking about these classes, were they worth it? Like see what we learned and stuff like that. Or just see how well me and Brooke are at executing what they've taught us.
We will absolutely sneak in to the YouTuber meetup, and we're gonna wear a shirt that has our podcast name on it.
It says posers.
And people look at us absolutely confused on who the hell we are, and we're gonna be like, "Dude, read the shirt, bro.
Yeah,
You don't know who I
Inwarp
am."
Mag, bro.
No, not really. We're not gonna try to do any of that crap. It's
No. I think
a little cringe, but
I think like one thing me and Brooke will always take with us, and no matter how big our channel gets, we really want to take a page out of like the Play On Guys books, and specifically shout out to Mubin because that guy,
yes,
he just like hung out with a guy for I don't even know how long. It was like maybe an hour and a half just talking about Thousand Sons, and I was just like, wow, he's like he's real.
we weren't stalking him. We were at a table painting, just so you know.
Yeah, well, he's just hanging out with the dude in front of us by like the fireplace talking about Thousand Sons, and I'm just like, that's cool. Like he didn't have to do that. He could have just like, I'm an awkward person, and when I feel like things are getting too awkward, I look for my outs, and I'm just like, I gotta go to the bathroom or I gotta go get dinner, and I would just try to get out of that situation. But I'm like, golly, I'm like, moving is like he is freaking into this thing. Like he wasn't looking for outs. He was talking about Thousand Sons. And like if somebody came up to me and they wanted to talk orcs, I might not know as much about orcs as the person who wants to talk to me, but I will talk to you about orcs. And that's what I want to do. Like that is the example I want to follow for like if if you guys in the community want to hang out with us, that's the example I think we really want to follow going forward, is just like we want to follow their example for how you interact with the community, because it seems to us to be the right way to interact with your community members.
Right. I want to take the conversations I have in the basement with the boys, and I want to share that with you guys. We talk about all sorts of random stuff. We laugh about funny lore. We look up memes, and we joke about each other's factions every once in a while. But like, those conversations are just fun. They're just great. They're great for our hobby group, and I want to take those conversations and have them with you guys, and we can all talk about whether it's strategy and list building, which I love list building. And if we want to talk about list building, I'm more than happy to be talking about list building. But like lore stuff, I'm super into lore. It's usually like in our hobby group, they'll be like talking about something, and they'll like look at me like, "Hey, Brooke, do you like know anything about this?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, actually, I do know something about that because I listened to Luton. I listened to a Luton video once, and he said, I'll like go on tangents on different parts of the lore or whatever." But those conversations, that like community building, hobby group, friendship types of conversations that we have, are some of the most fun parts of the hobby to me. Like we hang out in the basement at Bill's house on Tuesdays to hobby, and we just have a ball. We just have so much fun. We listen to music and make jokes and have a good time. We're always laughing. It's great. We love it. I want to do that stuff with you guys too. That's one of the reasons I would like to meet up with you guys.
Yeah. So this segment could be a complete waste of time, but if you've listened this far and you are interested in meeting us, contact us. Like, contact us on. We'll try to update our community page on YouTube. Leave a comment on there, or leave a comment
If you're at
this
Adepticon.
video. Yeah, if you're at Adepticon, you want to meet up with us while we're there. We'll be more than happy to meet up with you and just hang out. Or if you want to paint with us or whatever, like, hey, where are you guys painting at? Like, hit us up. We'll hang out.
Yeah.
We're perfectly willing to do it. We're just a couple of guys, probably like you are. So it's just like, come hang out with us. We want to expand our hobby group to include you guys in our community too, and share the fun that we have with you.
Right. Yeah, I hope we can do something like that. If not, it's no big deal. I know that we're growing still as a show, but as a magazine. But if we get to that point where we have people that we can do little meetups with at something like Adepticon, that'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably post something elsewhere, because this is such a long podcast that this is probably going to get lost in the whole timeline of this podcast.
Yeah.
Of this episode.
No one's gonna listen.
We'll probably we'll post something else somewhere, and encourage you guys to reach out if you are going to Adepticon and you do want to meet up, and we can see if we can make that happen.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into our closing thoughts. Brooke, what are you most excited about at Adepticon?
Honestly, just the atmosphere and the camaraderie of being in a hobby with a ton of people who are all in it for the same reason you are, and the hobbying aspect. I think that's probably my favorite part of these conventions. The hobbying, seeing other people hobbying, checking out Golden Demon. They have the diorama competition or whatever that is on the Saturday night. That stuff is just so much fun. I'm so excited about the hobby side. I'm excited to go back to the hobby area because we had so much fun there last year talking to the random people that we did. That stuff is very exciting to me. I think the playing stuff is probably going to be like, maybe I really look forward to playing on like a nice table. Hopefully we get to do that. We don't know what the setup will be for 40K casual games, but if we do get to do that, playing on a tournament or casual table that has very nice terrain and different terrain than what we're used to playing on, I think that could be a lot of fun too. So probably number one is the hobby, and then number two, close second, is being able to play on some unique tables.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
For me, it's the energy. So the first day you're there, whether it's Wednesday for the preview show or if your first day there is Thursday for your first hobby seminars, or if it's your first moments walking the convention floor, walking the around the tournament tables, there is an energy that's unlike many things that you've been around. It's like if your team is going to the Super Bowl, there's just an energy
Yeah.
there where you're just like, everybody is hyped for this, everybody is into this, and like this is a like everybody's passions are being fueled right now, and everybody is feeling it at this moment. There's just that initial hype. It's like if you go to a theme park, Cedar Point, and you ride the roller coaster for the first roller coaster of the day. It's just like nothing really beats that, where you're just like, oh my god, like this is so much fun, this is going to be such a fun day. You have that same exact feeling when you're at Adepticon, if it's starting at the preview show or just walking the floor, and you're just like, this is going to be such a fun 4 days, such a fun convention. I'm really looking forward to that, where it just kind of like breaks through that barrier of monotony of the year, and you're just like, all right, it's Adepticon time. I'm really looking forward to that.
You know what? You're so right. It is. I think that's probably the best part. I think your answer is a lot better than mine. The energy is really, honestly, the coolest part of the convention.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. You really got to go to one, and like you've talked about Gen Con and stuff. There's just a whole different energy that is unexplainable, where you're just like, yeah, I'm into this thing, and you can hear us talking about how into this thing we are. But when you're around like thousands of people who are into the same thing, and you can like feel their passion, um, it just like fuels you, and it just like furthers your passion. You're just like, I'm around the people I'm meant to be around, and this is what I'm
Right.
meant to be doing. Because sometimes, like we've said, when you're sitting around the hobby table doing this by yourself, you're just like, why am I doing this? And then you go to Adepticon, you're like, this is the reason. This is
Hmm.
why I do what I do.
I don't want to go on a super long tangent here, but I just want to briefly mention the first year I went to a convention. It was Gen Con, and I had no idea what to expect. And when I came out of Gen Con, I remember coming home and I was asked like, "Oh, like how was it? What was it like?" And I remember the way I answered that, and this is very similar with Adepticon. It's almost exactly the same. I was like, it was like you're transported to another reality, and then it's like the best time. It's like so positive. Everything is so much fun. Like everybody's there for the same reason you are. You're all having a blast together collectively. You're having a great time because you're all there for the same reason. It's like I jokingly was like, these are my people, because it's like everybody's here for the same reason you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel like you're in a different reality for a little bit because everybody is there for the same reason you are. They're all like-minded people. You're all very positive, and it just is such a a fulfilling positive energy that you get from going to a convention like that. And it does kind of suck going home, but it does fuel you for the next time that you get to go, and it does fuel you for all the like future hobby sessions that you have throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, man, I know why I do this. Like, this is so awesome that we have this community. That I understand that I'm doing this alone in my basement, or I got the boys that I go and we do hobby night on Tuesdays. Like that stuff, you get to the climax of it going to these conventions, and you're just like, yeah, this is awesome. This is such a cool thing to be a part of, and I'm happy to be a part of it. It's super fulfilling.
Yep. If that hasn't convinced you to go to Adepticon or any convention that's near you in your area, then I don't know what will. But if you haven't already gotten it from the rest of our podcast, we highly recommend you go to a convention, whether it's a wargaming convention or a board gaming convention, whatever is in your hobby group. Go to it because it's really going to fulfill like a missing spot in your life. We think so.
Definitely.
So as far as like a follow up, we've kind of outlaid or laid out our plan for Adepticon and what we're gonna do. We're probably gonna do a recap episode after Adepticon. We tried to do an episode at Adepticon last year, and that was kind of like a miserable equipment failure.
Yeah.
Combined with a room failure where we had a really noisy fan in the room that we couldn't turn off, and it just led to a bunch of background noise. We're probably not going to record anything at Adepticon because it's just too much work. We'll probably record something when we get back from Adepticon, so you could expect something like within a week or two of the end of Adepticon, and we'll kind of do a follow-up of what we did, what our experience was, and anything we learned based off of what we scheduled to do at Adepticon.
How well we stuck to our painting plans before Adepticon, like what we actually did accomplish, what we painted, those sorts of things. It'd be cool to follow up and use this episode as the measuring stick against what we actually accomplished. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you could be like, oh, Drew and Brooke said they're going to finish like 50 models between them. I bet they finished like 10. Exactly.
Hey, that might be real, but it still hurts my feelings.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, well, probably so as you can see the dates on the screen right now, Adepticon is March 26th to March 30th. So probably sometime beginning of April, we'll do a follow-up video just to talk about our Adepticon experience. And we hope you'll tune in then to just hear how much fun we had, because I'm sure it's going to be a blast again this year.
Hopefully we have a lot of fun stories of talking to some of you if you do end up going to Adepticon.
And if you aren't a fan of the show and you're just a random person who doesn't even know you're about to run into us and you're going to share some sort of mysterious liquor in a flask with us, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. On that note, I think we should probably try to wrap this up.
Yeah.
We are well past our plan for this episode, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you guys had fun learning about Adepticon if you weren't sure about Adepticon before. And I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about what our plans were. And maybe we'll see you guys there. Maybe this got you excited for Adepticon. I hope it did. We're very excited. And we'd like to hear how excited you are in the comments if you are.
Yeah. And if you guys are still listening at this point, definitely subscribe so you can follow us for any subsequent videos that we post. On the screen now, you should see some other podcasts. Go ahead and click on those if you want to watch more, and we'll talk to you later.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.